Today is part 2 of the FBI investigation. In the last episode, we have covered through the memory forensics how the attacker has, what are the things that attacker has done. But this episode is really special. We are going to identify from the very first level of kill chain, like how the attacker has done the recon, then how he have exploited the network and how he have got into the network after the delivery phase, how the delivery has been done on the network, and if there is anything like he has maintained some kind of persistence or even he has done some kind of lateral movement. Okay, so without a further ado, let's dive into the technical session, and we are starting right now. So we are starting from exactly where we have left last time. So what I'm gonna do now, so this investigation is like, now we are basically trying to identify how it happened. Okay, so we have identified what had happened on the DESI and the domain controller, but we don't know exactly at this point of time how the attacker got into the DC network and how he has done all this, like exploited, how he have installed core updata.exe and all those stuffs. Okay, so for doing that and for doing that investigation, what we have done, as I told you before, so we have captured the full packet capture on this time frame interval when FBI notified us and when the Szechuan sauce recipe was up for sale in the dark web. Okay, so now as you see, this particular file is quite a bit long. Okay, and if I quickly do a wc-l to a case directory, so you will see that there are almost like this many crazy lines on this particular pcap file, and there is no chance in hell that you can open this pcap file in Wireshark and you can keep on trying to identify what the thing is going on over here. Okay, so what we can do at this point of time, we will use a little bit of trick. So I hope you guys are aware of open source IDS solution which is called as Snort. So we are trying to use Snort, and we will send this packet to Snort, and we will identify that what could be the potential alerts that Snort can give us. Okay, so for doing that, let me clear up my screen. And what the first step that I need to do before installing Snort, I'll just quickly do a quick update on my system. I believe it is updated, but let's do it once again. So it is getting updated, and once it is done, so we have just to perform a little bit of tweaking on the Snort file, and we have to tell that which actual network interface Snort has to look, right? So if you remember, let me open up the netscan that we have ran from the memory, and if you remember, this was our note of identification, right? And from that point of time, we know this is the IP address of our local machine, okay, which was communicating to this malicious IP address that we found, right? So what we will try to identify, we will try to identify this particular IP address. We need to mention this IP address into our Snort library so that Snort can look into this IP address and identify that, hey, this is my source, and I need to trigger all of the alerts based on this IP address on the packet capture information. Okay, so we will do the same thing over here. Okay, so my update has been done now, and so what I need to do, I need to do a quick sudo apt then install Snort. Okay, so I have the Snort installed, but if you are not installed the Snort, so it will be installed. So it's as simple as that. You do not need to do anything else over here. Now pay attention to this particular point, what you need to do at this particular point. So I'll open the Snort configuration file over here with gedit, so you can use it at per your choice, whatever the editor you want to choose for. Then there is a file called snort config. Okay, so I'll open that particular file, and so what I need to do over here, so there will be a IP address nomenclature over here. So if you see that this ipvar home.net, okay, so this IP address is currently, so I have set it up on this local IP address. Okay, so I showed you, right? So this IP address was my the machine local IP address to which the network communication and all those stuffs are happening, and I have mentioned these CIDR notations over here. Okay, so just remember that to change this particular nomenclature to this IP address or whatever IP address you are interested in, by default this will be something like 0.0.0 or it could be anything. Okay, so you just need to change this particular IP address in this particular file. Okay, so since it is changed already in my configuration, so I do not need to do anything else. I'll close that sucker up and I will go back to my terminal. Now one important step that you need to do at this point of time, so just to check whether your snort is actually working properly or not. Okay, so I will just, to save the time, I will just paste the command. So I have copied it in like previous while I was doing the investigation. So this is the, so I'll try to ask snort to look into my snort configuration file which is stored here, and I do not need to mention anything, or I do not need to mention any kind of like source or any kind of stuff over here. So if the snort is working properly, it will tell me that hey, snort is running successfully. So now if you see this snort running successfully and validated the configuration and snort exiting, so that means our snort configuration is successful now and it is ready to run at this point of time. Okay, so now what next? So what we need to do at this point of time, so we need to run the same command. Okay, so but at this point of time we need to point our pcap file, which is the humongous pcap file, and we need to mention and we need to ask snort to run is ingest rule index IDS rule to that particular packet capture file. Okay, so what we need to do at this point of time, okay, so I will remove this particular sucker up, and the nomenclature is -r, then there is this case 001.pcap file over here, and then we need to mention -q, then -k, then none, and then at this point of time -a, then console. Okay, because I want to put everything over here. And also what I want to do at this point of time, because I want to route all this output over here, whatever I am getting, to another file which I will write is as like snort.out, because I need to investigate that particular file which is like snort is giving me for my understanding. Because if I just try to run all these commands and all these stuffs and I want to see all these stuffs in console, it will be hard to read. So I'll route this particular output to a file called snort.out. Okay, so my snort has finished its processing and it is done. If I just do a little bit of scroll up and just I want to show you what the hell is going on. So now you see I have used this particular command to tee it up in a snort.out file. Okay, so I'll minimize this window at this point of time, and I do not need this file either. So what I need to do at this point of time, let me open this snort.out file. Okay, and now if I just need to scroll up a little bit, and if I show you that there are only 253 lines over there. Okay, so let me go back to my console as well. Let me clear up my screen, and if I do a wc -l to a snort.out file, you will see that 256 lines only, and it is reduced so much of like there was like lakhs of lines inside that pcap file. Okay, if I run that pcap file once again, so case1.pcap, you will see that there are so many of lines. Now it is quite possible at this point of time to scroll through all of your lines that snort has given us up. Okay, so now interestingly, what we need to figure out over here, what the hell is exactly going on over here. Okay, so now if you keep on scrolling over here, you will see that there are some bad traffic which is coming from potential bad network, which is caught like snort is giving us. Since it's an IDS, it will have a sensor kind of stuff and it can give you that kind of input. Okay, so now if I keep scrolling here, you will see some interesting stuff is going on, right? So you will see that bad requests, some source destination, potential bad traffic, and it is trying to do some ICMP over here. Okay, so now here also check this particular thing is very, very important, guys. Okay, because what the hell is going on over here? So there is an ICMP ping request and someone is running an nmap scan, and it is trying to identify something like what is open. And if you know what nmap is, all like nmap can do at this point of time, you will see that this particular IP address is trying to do nmap on this IP address. Now if you remember, this is our local box, okay, which we were concerned about, and this particular machine is trying to communicate to the bad IPs and bad all those stuffs. Okay, so we can quickly check what is this IP address, because from my intention it is quite clear at this point of time that this particular IP is no good for sale. Okay, so this particular IP has to be doing something malicious stuff over here. Okay, so now if we keep on scrolling over here, so you will see that there are something else also is going on. Okay, so Mozilla is ready at this point of time. So let me open my Mozilla and let me quickly open VirusTotal over here. Okay, so that's the easiest option for us. Okay, so VirusTotal, yes, this one, I'll route to VirusTotal and I'll make the search quickly to identify if there is any intel that is present by VirusTotal or not. Okay, so now at this point of time, VirusTotal is saying me that okay, this particular IP probably clean, but you see 4 detected files embedded in this IP address. Okay, so now if you go to the community section and if you have an community and the version which gives you the feasibility to search all those graphs and all those stuff, like the enterprise version, you can quickly check whatever the intel that this IP is giving you. Okay, but my intention, this IP is never up for anything good. Okay, so never mind, because why does someone need to do a nmap scan on an infrastructure, right? If you are coming from an angle that okay, so I am an authorized and legitimate doing something like red teaming stuff, so I can do it, but there was no intention for doing some red teaming. Okay, so now if you see, there are some IPMPs timestamp requests and the same kind of thing is going on. And now look at this. Okay, so let me remove my face from here and now look at this, guys. So there are traffic which is going on to this IP address. So it is same kind of, it is like generic protocol command decode. Okay, and you see this is 3389, guys, so which is an RDP request, right? So first we will see that someone has tried to do a nmap scan, and if you do a nmap and if you have any open port, like anything is open onto your network, so it will give you that hint. Okay, and now you see there are all those RDP traffics is going on. So that means our server is, so this particular machine is trying to reach out to the RDP. And now interestingly, look at this packet over here, guys. So what is happening over here? Now you will see that this particular machine is trying to reach out to another IP address, which is our local IP address, and doing some RDP stuff, right? So there is some communication happening over here, right? So you will see there are a lot of interesting. So now if you come here to this particular thing, you will see that terminal server request, and this is also coming on 3389 port, guys. So at this point of time, what this particular thing tells us, okay, so this particular thing actually tells us that someone first tried to do a nmap scan. And you can tell me that, hey, how did the attacker even know that my network is open to public and I have an RDP port open? So have you ever heard about something called Shodan, Shodan.io, Shodan anything, so which is an open source and which is an huge platform, can be used by authorized like security researchers like we people, SOC people, and that can be used by someone bad guys also, right? Now if you have anything open to the internet, so Shodan can give you a quick hint that this particular IP address, this particular port is open to the internet, so use it, guys, exploit it. So all those stuffs is very easy. Okay, so there is nothing fancy about it, you can do it like that way, and attacker probably can do it. Okay, so now at this point of time, we know someone has tried to exploit the nmap, and they have already know how to exploit it, and because it's an nmap, guys, so it's an RDP port. So if you just go to the exploit DB and if you want to try to identify some vulnerabilities on that particular machine, so Nmap can give you that also, right? And you can try to run some exploit on that open port which is open to the public, and what else you need. Okay, so now we have got the first initial vector how the attacker has tried to got into the network, but there are more to identify, so let's dig into that now. So from all these steps, one point we have identified so far, that this is the IP address that is in behind initial all these like scanning, all this recon activity, all this has been done by this IP address only. Okay, right? So next, what now we can do basically, so we can use our the pcap file for our investigation, and we can run some TCP dump on it to point to that IP address, that 194 IP address, to do that. Okay, so let us do that now, and let us first open first 20 characters of it. So what I am gonna do, I'm gonna do a TCP run on it, and this is my pcap file, and I'm trying to identify this IP address, and I am just trying to just to check how the time frame is actually coming up. So I am opening first 20 lines of it. Okay, so let us read the file, and now if I do a quick, if I just open this particular sucker, so now you will see that the time frame is not properly identifiable or readable, right? So instead of doing that, what we can do instead of this nr command, so we can do a ttt command. Okay, so ttt nr, so that will convert your timestamp into a proper nomenclature. Okay, now if you see that this first this is quite interesting. Okay, so what we have identified from the snot, and if you want to analyze the flags and what other stuff, so you will see that clearly it is mentioned over here. Okay, so there was some ICMP echo request that came, and if you see that this particular sequence ID also, right, so you can properly map it whatever the other sequence IDs are also present here in this pcap format. Okay, so you keep on scrolling it. Now here you will see that this particular time, this particular IP address has given ICMP echo reply back to this particular like the malicious attacker IP over here, right? So here he started, this is the ID sequence, and if you see, this is the ID sequence. Okay, so you will see that this is some kind of the 3-point handshake is happening here. But if you see that, so there won't be something like, if you see that this is acknowledge packet and this is acknowledge packet, you won't see anything like reset packet or drop packet is coming over here, right? So which is another interesting stuff, because at this point of time, so we all know that the attacker was successfully able to establish the communication, and he has done that particularly to identify what is going on and how you can exploit that. Okay, so now we will go ahead to our next step. What we can do, we can do another TCP dump, and this time we are gonna use simple nr, and I am interested to see only the host of 194.61.24.102, right? Because that's our IP address. And what I'm gonna do now, so I'm gonna dump whatever the file, whatever maybe I can find with this host IP address. So -w is for dumping whatever I can find, and TCP dump will dump that from our pcap file over here. Okay, so I'm gonna dump it from now, and I'm gonna paste this particular sucker inside a temp directory. Okay, because that's very much important. Okay, so here I mention the case file over here, and then -d, so -temp, and we can mention something like host 194.pcap. okay, so I'm just concentrating on that pcap which is only related to this host file. Okay, and remember, TCP dump won't allow you to dump anything on your local directory, so it prefers to dump in everything in the temp location. Okay, so you will reading the package from the temp location, and you will see that this is dumped now. Okay, so if you do a quick ls minus or ls minus l to our temp directory, you will see that this particular file has been pasted over here. Okay, here you go. So this is particularly file that has been extracted to our temp location. Now how we can move it basically? So if you remember, if you know this particular kill switch, it's kind of tricky. So what I am gonna do, I am gonna move it to this. So this is kind of shortcut. Okay, so what I have just edited to the temp location, so I am just moving it to my local directory. Okay, so what it's done now, so it is moved that particular file into my local local directory, my root whatever I am working on. So this is the cases directory. So let me clear up my screen, and if I do a quick ls, so you can see that particular file. So this was my original file over here, and yeah, here you go. So you will see that the temp location, the temp whole directory has been cut off and taken to my local directory now. So I'll do a cd to the temp location, and if I do a quick ls, so we'll see that this host that file that we have just extracted from the parent pcap file has been extracted over here. Okay, so what we can do now quickly, we can open this particular file in Wireshark, because this particular file is very interesting, guys. So we have extracted all the files which is related to this particular IP address, which is our attacker IP address, and we have extracted it over here. Okay, so now what next? So if we go to the statistics section, and if we see the try to see the endpoints over here, so you will see that whatever the IP addresses, so you will see that this particular machine and this particular machine is communicating to our this particular 194, the malicious IP address over here, right? So if I go back to my netstat or even the snort, so if I open the netstat, so you will see, if you remember it properly, so we had this particular IP address which is 85.10, which was our DC IP address. And now let me move it, and okay, so if you see this particular thing, so 10 was our machine IP address, and this is another IP address which is also communicating to the malicious attacker IP address, right? So it is worth of investigating what the hell is going on over here. Okay, so if I just open it onto if I double click it over here, and if I copy that particular sucker, I just want to make it as a filter. Okay, so apply as filter, I have selected it over here and close this particular sucker down, and if you see that this particular thing has been applied as my filter. Okay, so now if I go to the transmission section over here, you will see, if I scroll to the internet protocol section, you will see that all the files, all the options that is being dropped upon and that is being worked upon is over here. Okay, so if I go to this particular get request section, there is something getting on from this IP address, or from this malicious IP address. So if I go to it over here, you will see that there is a full request URI which is coming from here. So that means you will see that there are some user agent also over here, so which is using the edge thing by default, and you will see there is a ZZ version and someone is trying to download something over here, right? So what we can do, we can simply go to this section and we can follow this TCP stream over here, and we can see what the hell is basically going on into it, right? So if you are interested to see how basically these things are done, so I have done a previous episode on it, so where I have explained in very detail how this thing particularly works, how to work on TCP dump, how to work on Wireshark. So I'll leave the link in the description, and it is coming in the I button over here, so you can watch it. Heavily recommendable. Okay, so now you see this is the magic, guys. Okay, so you see the coreupdater.exe is getting downloaded from that IP address, right? So now what else you need? So coreupdater.exe, if you remember from our previous episode, which was the memory forensics, we have identified this coreupdater.exe was our suspicious point, which was injected to spool the legitimate Windows process, right? Now you see that this coreupdater.exe particularly process is being downloaded from this IP address to this particular location. Okay, so what we can do, we can quickly export this particular object, because this is very interesting stuff and which we couldn't extract from memory, because this particular process was not written into disk and that process was exited from the memory. If you remember from my last episode, this is the only one process which was exited from the memory. Okay, so we were not able to extract that from the memory, right? So now what we can do, we can extract this particular sucker from here. Okay, so now if I save this particular thing over here, so I can quickly dump that, right? So I'll go to my desktop, I'll go to my cases, I'll go to my dump. So these are all the process dump over here. So I'll save it over here. Okay, so that's done now. And if I close it over here, because I don't need this anymore, I have downloaded whatever the things I required, and now I open this dump. So you see this is a exe file over here. Okay, so let me open up no, it's not this one. Let me open up a terminal over here. If I do a quick ls, obviously if I do a quick file onto coreupdater.exe, you will see that this is a p32-bit executable file and this is for MS Windows, right? So what we can do at this point of time, we can run quickly our flaws just to identify, if we can identify something, like tricky or something quick, low hanging fruit onto this particular thing. But you see this is not getting too much information out of us, because this is looking like error, something like the invalid decoder. So okay, so that means we are not getting any suitable IOCs, but you will see there is a virtual allocation. This looks like this particular process is some kind of a packed version of it, right? So what else we can do, if you remember, there is a tool called Kappa. We can run that also as well to identify what are the privileges, what are the MITRE framework and all those stuffs that is present in this particular coreupdater.exe. Okay, and also one thing also we can do, we can quickly open my terminal up and I can do a md5 sum onto that coreupdater.exe, and let's try to identify if there is anything on VirusTotal of it or not. Okay, so I have my VirusTotal open, I guess. So yes, it is open. So let me quickly search it over here. I'm not sure if I can identify something or not, because at this point of time, yeah, so you see this is heavily infected, guys. So we have a lot of information coming, and you see there are Joe Sandbox reports and all those stuffs, Thor report, Yara rules, and all those stuffs are already being present here. So at this point of time, I do not even need to do the dynamic analysis or any kind of static analysis of this particular file, because people has already done that. So we can leverage that and we can basically we can use it. And now if you see the malware configuration over here, the Metasploit connection, and if you see this particular IP address and this particular thing we have seen in our previous thing, right? So you see exactly this TTP is matching with us, right? So this is our DC which was communicating to this particular IP address which was malicious. And now if you go back to the Joe Sandbox report, and it is also saying that this is an C2 IP address and this downloads Metasploit out of it, right? So now at this point of time, and let's go back, if we can identify something Kappa has given us. Okay, so whatever we have identified so far, so from the first episode, if you remember, this is a quick fact check. So from the last episode, we have identified that from the memory forensics, the coreupdater.exe, this particular file was injected into a spoolv.exe, which was a legitimate Windows process. Hence, we have also identified the Meterpreter was injected into that particular thing, and using that we have gone ahead and we have identified the full timeline of it. We have seen that the zip file has been created, and there was also something like a secret.zip that has also been created on that particular DC sandbox, right? So we have already identified what has happened in our previous episode. Now this particular episode, we have identified so far how the attacker has got into the network. He has probably used some open source like Shodan or something to identify what is open to the internet. He has tried to run an nmap scan. He has probably run an exploit. So that's quietly visible because we have seen that particular RDP connection is going in and out from our DC network, right? And following that, we have also identified another machine which was probably the lab scientist PC, and there could be lateral movement, right? So two IP address, that is 115 and ending with 15. Two IP address was mentioned in this packet capture, and first IP address was, we have identified this core updater.exe has been downloaded, and from the intelligence section what we have gathered so far, it is quite clear that core updater.exe is involved in this particular case, which dropped Meterpreter on the DC network and done the exfiltration and all those stuffs. Okay, so now so if I open it properly, you will see that exactly Kappa has given all of these behavior. So you will see that yes, defense evasion. So that is the reason we couldn't identify anything using flaws. Okay, so obfuscated file information, this is one tactic that has been invented, and you will see defense evasion, same thing, obfuscated file and information, because the full file was encoded, and you will see encode data using XOR. Now if you remember, in our previous episode we have identified the sandwich kind of pattern where we have identified this XOR. Now the Kappa is also telling us that this particular thing is capable of encoding file using XOR. So this has we have also identified. So everything is matching properly, right? So at this point of time we know everything at whatever we need to know, right? So now the last thing we need to look into it, whether there could be anything like persistence mechanism or anything like the attacker has left a footprint on the network or not. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, so what I have loaded, so this is the autorun file that we have also captured from the DC domain controller, and I have opened this particular file in Timeline Explorer, which is Eric Zimmerman tool. Okay, so because that's easy, right? So what exactly we are trying to identify over here? So we are trying to identify if there is any footprint left on autoruns or on anything like this kind of keys, registry keys or registry hive, some stuff like that. Okay, so what we can do, we can simply search for like core updater over here. Now if you see that, okay, so there are core updater files over here, right? So you will see that there are files which is located in the services, which is obviously one particular point in registry hive and current versions and run. So now if you go to this particular section, you will see obviously this particular run file, this run key is used to maintain the persistence of any kind of file, right? So what does this autorun means? Which are the files that you store or ship to the run keys or ship to these particular locations open by default once after you rebooted the system. Okay, so this doesn't mean that even before loading your antivirus solution, this particular file actually loads. Okay, so this is one maintain and one interesting stuff what we have identified from there. Now you will see that there could not be, you will see that this is an Windows PowerShell, obviously. Okay, so another interesting stuff, and you see this particular thing is verified by Microsoft Windows. Okay, so we do not know like what exactly the thing is happening. So that could be possible. This core update is a legitimate process. I will see this core updater. Okay, so this core updater.exe, this is the exact thing that we have identified so far in our investigation. I see there is no signature available over here. Okay, this is not signed by anything. So this Microsoft file is a legitimate one, which is the core update.file, and core updater is our, so you see core updater. So again, if you remember, we have identified the same location in our memory forensics previous episode, right? So you can watch that particular thing, and if you see that this particular thing is again doing some kind of stuff over here. Okay, so this particular stuff is very much important, guys. So you will see that there are some kind of things. So if you so we have, by the way, we have captured the full disk image of the DC server also. Now if we want to go to load that particular full disk image and want to understand the registry Hive, definitely we will identify something into this location, into this particular location. We will definitely identify this core updater.powershell.exe stuff, and which is a process to maintain the persistence over here, right? So you see the hash files and all those stuffs are already present over here. So okay, so now it is also clear. So each and every kill chain, probably mostly the kill chain and MITRE framework has been covered. So attacker has first gained the privilege on the machine, then he has exploited the RDP, then he have went ahead and installed the delivery fetch, which is he has dropped the core updater. Then there was a process injection, he has injected this particular process in spoolv, then he has exfiltrated the data, and that's all, right? So this is the full story, guys. So yeah, that's all, guys. That's all I have to share in these two parts of episode. I hope you have enjoyed the full investigation workflow, how we have started the investigation, how we have mapped each and every phase of kill chain, and we have identified everything from memory forensics and other stuffs, like whatever we have done so far today, from like identifying the PCAP, analyzing the PCAP, then going to the Wireshark and all those stuffs. Okay, so if you have liked this particular episode, please give me a thumbs up, and don't even forget to subscribe Black Pearl, so that you can get all those information and all those latest and upcoming tutorial, and you can enhance your DFIR skill. Okay, and don't forget to turn on the bell notification, so that whenever I upload a new video, that gets directly populated to your upstream, and you can watch that without a further ado. Okay, so yeah, stay tuned for the next episode, and more such beautiful things are coming up. I'll catch you guys next time. Stay healthy and stay safe.